Hi. Well, finally, I'm back with you. It's been a rough week and a half, or however long it's been. I don't really even know how long it's been. Got pretty sick there for a while, and it turns out I got a tick bite and got Lyme's disease, and it just knocked the wheels out from under me. I am doing a lot better, and I'm feeling a lot better, and just still weak a little bit and fatigued quickly, but all in all, I'm getting better, and believe that it won't be long till I'll be back to 100%. But while I was in the hospital and while I was going through all of this, I was reminded of a passage of Scripture that I know you know. But it's when you're kind of knocked off your game that these verses become real to us. It's found in 1st or 2nd Corinthians chapter 12, verse 10. And again, I know you know it, but listen. Paul said, "Therefore I take pleasure in infirmities." Now, I'm not sure I'd go that far, but listen to why he said that. He said, "I take pleasure in infirmities, in reproaches, in needs, in persecution, in distress for Christ's sake." Much of the persecution, much of the trouble that Paul endured in his life, he endured because of his witness for Christ. What I went through this last week and a half wasn't because I was being persecuted for being a Christian. So there's some differences here. But Paul said, I'm even going to, if I'm being persecuted for Christ, I'm going to take pleasure in that because I realize how important it is. Then he says, "For when I am weak, then I am strong." And that really resonated with me in the last week and a half. There had been a time in my life where I was a pretty strong guy. I was one of those guys that was bench pressing over 300 pounds, and I was one of those guys that, pretty much whatever I want to grab hold of and move within reason, I could. And in my younger days, I was pretty stout. But I've come to realize something, and that is that physical strength, although it's handy, it's nice to have. I'm not saying I wouldn't like to still be that strong. That doesn't make who you are. That doesn't define you. It's not real strength. It's not strength that matters. It's not strength that lasts. There are people walking around, and they're very strong, and I'm happy for them. I'm not making fun of them for that. They're physically very strong, and that's wonderful. But that strength will eventually fade. You can't take that strength with you into eternity. One of the guys that was one of the original workout gurus in the world was a guy by the name of Jack LaLanne many years ago. He started back in the 60s, I think, maybe even the 50s, I don't know. And he was the first guy to have an exercise show on TV and the whole deal. And he was a horse. I mean, he had some enormous arms on him, and he was a horse of a man. And he used to do all these stunts, feats of strength stunts, and he was a very strong man, and he maintained, percentage-wise, he maintained good strength throughout his life. He worked at it every day, hours every day working out. But even as hard as he worked at maintaining that strength and keeping that strength, the strength that he had in his 70s and 80s did not match the strength that he had in his 30s, 20s, 30s, 40s. That strength faded. It always will. But we only learn what real strength is about when we see our own weakness, when we realize that in and of ourselves we have limitations, when we're faced with our own weakness, when we're faced with weakness that our bodies can't handle. It's during those times where we reach out to God and we find a source of strength that we can't find any other place or any other way. It's during those times that you realize that that's a strength that matters, that that's a strength that makes a difference, that that's a strength that carries us into eternity. That's a strength. That's a strength that changes lives and transforms people. So my challenge to you today is, what is the source of strength that you're counting on? If it's physical strength, seeing how big you can get your arms, it's always going to fade. But strength that matters, it didn't take much to knock all my strength out of me. A little teeny tiny tick. I mean a tick, just a tiny little thing. And it knocked all my strength out of me and put me in bed. But it never took away the real strength in my life that matters, and that's my relationship with Jesus Christ. Think about that today. And Lord willing, I will see you tomorrow. God bless.